best in the league. What do they do down there that makes it so difficult? What are the keys to finding success?
Yeah, they give you a lot of front variations, so it stresses, your run game identifications and also your protections. They're crowding the line of scrimmage with more than you can block sometimes. Play a lot of man. They're good man cover guys. So it's just a good combination of stopping the run and stopping the pass that's challenging.
Joe, the switch to kind of series, with RJ and
Yeah.
Dobbins, what was kind of the impetus or just the thought process last week?
Yeah, I think it was always, our vision that we would get to that with these two guys because, they both are they both have a skill set that they're similar to each other. They're really good runners. They're both effective as pass catchers, both effective as blockers. So it was just, I think getting RJ, making sure that we're confident that he's got the protections down, not physically, but just mentally, and he came along quickly with that. So I think it's something we feel good about going forward.
Bo mentioned, I think yesterday, he felt like, this offense is really successful in drives. You guys run the ball early. In general, do you agree? Have you guys seen that? Through these
I think that's just a constant in football. When you're able to run the ball efficiently, it helps everything. I know when you're calling plays and the run game is effective, it feels a whole lot easier than when it's not. And so, I think it's something that I think both our runners are averaging over 5 a carry, and something that we have confidence in, and we'll lean on going forward for sure.
Or as a coach, are you as fired up seeing Pat Bryant throw that block as you are seeing a receiver make a big time?
Yeah. Pat had some really good blocks. Cortland flat back somebody, so that's always something that you want to highlight with the guys, and I don't think the general population appreciates that as much. So as coaches, you really want to highlight that when the guys are selling out and dominating the blocking game.
Garett Bolles and Mike McGlinchey are among the league leaders in lowest pressure rate so far this season. What's allowed those guys to be so successful?
Well, I think they're both first-round picks, so talent helps. Both really athletic. I think I got to give credit to Zach Strief. I think he's as good a technician coach as there is in the NFL, and those guys work hard on their technique and their sets. Every set, there's a lot that goes into it. Like linebackers here, you're going to set like this. The center's coming your way. You're going to there's so much that goes with it mentally for those guys, and I think as they get experience in the system, they just get better and better at it. So it's comforting having those two bookends on the offensive line.
Sean said the other day that Bo likes kind of tempo when he's starting, the game out. Is it that, you and Sean, do you have conversations with Bo about, hey, kind of feeling out the game plan each week on what he likes, or is it more you guys just kind of know by this point?
A little of both. Yeah, a little of both. We certainly know there's things he likes, and then, there's always wrinkles that you're adding or new plays. And as the week goes on, you judge his comfort level. And, there's a few plays every week that we redline and say, hey, we're not going to run these. It didn't look good in practice, or he doesn't feel good about it. And then he'll have input like, hey, this is a play I really like. Can we get that in? And 9 times out of 10 that we do it. So, there's an experience level like, hey, we know what you like. Let's try to tilt the game plan that direction. And then there's also conversations that happen.
Sean talked about their ability to win the turnover battle as being a big reason why they're so successful in one-score games. When you go into a game like this, is there more of a focus on protecting the football, or is it the same as it always is?
Yeah, I think it's the number one thing that we talk about every week. And so I think you highlight how good they are. You show film of them punching out balls and getting interceptions. But it's a constant drumbeat that we have about turnovers.
Metrics on a flat line for Philadelphia don't look very impressive, but there they are, 4-0.
Right.
There they are, still scoring points. There they are, still finishing drives and getting points at the end of drives.
Yeah.
Give me a sense for how that works and how odd that is in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, it's not odd, when you're winning that way. I think it's their way of winning. It's not by accident. It's purposely built that way, and it's worked for them for the last 2 or 3 seasons. With the offensive line they've built, signing Saquon, obviously, the quarterback's a big, strong athlete, who can make all the throws, but he's a great runner with the football. They play great defense, they play great teams, so it's not accident. It's purposely built that way, and it works for them. So it's kind of a coach's dream. It makes you jealous of how they play and win.
With a dual threat quarterback like that, what is the most important thing for especially your inside backers to be mindful of?
Well, how we rush this guy is obviously key. If everyone's covered and you have irresponsible rush lanes, he would take off and gain the first down. And you'll never see third and long or second and long ever if you don't contain the quarterback. I think he's an accurate passer. But when he pulls the ball down, if everyone backs turn, he can make a big play on you. So obviously how we rush him is important. How we stop Saquon is important. They have a lot of weapons that we have to account for, but the quarterback is obviously the main guy. That's where it starts.
Nik Bonitto off to a great start. And both he and Garett Bolles, they're like top rated at their respective positions. How much did those battles day by day really help each other in the spring and summer?
I think it helps all of our guys to go against, good people every day. But obviously with Garett and Nik, that's unique, to have a kind of all-pro rusher and all-pro tackle. That's good work for those guys every single day. And what those guys do after practice, they kind of talk about what they saw from each other and, what he saw from Myles Garrett or whatever, from certain tackles. So they do a great job of sharing information between them after they compete.
How'd Savion look to you on Monday night?
He looked fine. Obviously he didn't play a lot of reps, but it was his first time getting on the field, as a rookie. And, it was good for him to play some. But that should increase for him moving forward. But he's had great weeks of practice. That's why we decided to put him up finally. But he's growing fast, so hopefully he gets better and better each week.
Vance, what do you like particularly about what JFM's doing right now, like where he's kind of improved even over last year?
Yeah, JFM has played well from last year to this year. Obviously, when he gets the one-on-one inside, he wins a lot. Zach's a little frustrated. He's getting a slide and double teams, but JFM's getting the one-on-ones, and he's continuing to win. That's why he's here. If you only had one inside rusher, it would be tough to get inside pressure. But if they turn to Zach, JFM's going to win. If they go to JFM, Zach's going to win. So it's a great pair to have inside rushing together.
Coach, Zach got a time for two more guys. Quadruple team on the three-man rush.
That was more, I guess, scheme and those, how they saw the scheme. But Zach got 4 blockers and Nik and Coop got the single width and they won. So it worked out for us that time.
Coach, when it comes to Zach Allen, he leads the NFL in quarterback hits since he got to Denver. You obviously were with him before coming to Denver. What changed and allowed him to take such a massive step and become one of the best defensive?
I don't think much has changed with Zach. I mean, he's just getting older as a player. He's always been a great rusher. He's gotten stronger over the years, but he's always been a smart player. So it's opportunities. I think Zach playing with, better outside rushers allows him to get more one-on-ones, When you're the only rusher inside, you get all the slides, all the double teams. Now he's playing with Nik and Coop and JFM. It's fair across the board. So, all of our guys should improve with those kind of numbers.
About some kickoffs, right? There's all this kickoff stuff. I talk about all this crazy kickoff stuff. 2 Thursday games in a row come down to a kickoff short of the landing zone. So, but listen, I think what we're seeing league wide is this kickoff is really doing what we thought it was going to do. It's creating more plays. It's creating excitement. There's a high return percentage. There's a lot more excitement. I mean, when was the last time we had this much conversation in a month about a kickoff play? And so this was the vision. This is the vision by the people that were involved, like myself, in the creation of this. And so it's great to see all these big plays coming down to these end of these games and decisions and all that. So pretty neat, pretty well.
Is that a fine line of you're trying to make kicks that are more difficult to return, but also like the punitive thing of if you do land short, like in those situations, is that like a balance that you're kind of still learning how to strike?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that last week. I don't think that the general fan probably puts enough stock into the fact that how hard that knuckleball is to control. Josh Carty is a great example. The Rams were doing a great job for a couple of weeks. They probably had some confidence in their kickoff stuff, and then all of a sudden they get into overtime and they try one, and it lands short, well short. And now the San Fran has the ball at the 40. It happened to Chad Ryland and the Cardinals the week before. So the risk reward of trying to get that ball to land in the perfect spot, get on the ground, again. So it's. I think everybody's going to have a different philosophy with it. Some teams are going to say, hey, we're going to try to get it down deep to the goal line and go cover majority of the time and take our chances. I think some teams are going to say, hey, we'll roll the dice and try to hit these knuckleballs all the time. And if we have a couple that come up short or go out of bounds, so be it. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But, now I think we're up to like 20 kicks that have been short or out of bounds in 4 weeks. So that's a pretty high number, higher number than we're used to, yeah.
Yeah, no, go. All good.
Did you see Nik Bonitto's, when you were talking Monday, just on the impact of the K-balls?
I kind of saw a lot of hoopla about the K-balls. I was obviously involved with that process too because I'm the co-chair of the committee. Listen, I would say this. I would say the numbers would tell you that there's really not a lot a stock to put into it, because I think last year in 24 with the old K-ball process, there was actually more 50-plus yard field goal attempts than there are this year. I think it's close, but there's not like this spike in numbers, and the percentages wouldn't tell you, the field goal percentages wouldn't tell you that the K-ball's really helping much. A little history with that, the K-ball procedure was put into place, and a big reason it was put into place was really because of the kickoffs. Now think about what a 180 the league has done, because we used to kick off from the 20, and then guys were getting a lot of distance on the kickoffs, and then they kind of went in 1999 and went back to these rules. And now we're kind of gone full circle. Now we're trying to place the kickoffs, and people are saying the field goals are going longer. Listen, do I think that you could argue that there might be a little bit more distance on these field goals? You could probably argue that with the K-ball process, but you can't really argue the percentages with the accuracy. So it's still not really going to play that much into the 50-plus field goal decisions, because the percentage-wise of making one of those is still the same. And if you miss, as everybody knows, you're giving your opponent really good field position. So,
time for a couple more, guys.
Yeah.
Blocked several kicks, I think, or punt over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What do they do that makes them so good in that area?
Well, I'll tell you what, with blocking punts or field goals, the first thing is effort and want to. And they have their defensive line over the course of the last couple of years. You watch the film, it's really impressive. They've done a really nice job. Their effort's outstanding, particularly inside. Jalen Carter and Davis have been really, really forceful in there. Last week they had a really good punt block that started the game 7-0. So we made that an emphasis. Our protection this week on field goal, our protection this week on punt is going to be paramount. They've really, argument's sake, they've won 2 games on block kicks, a block field goal to win the game, then a block punt starts the game off 7-0. And so these are huge, momentous plays. And so we're going to have to be spot on. But credit to them, credit to their defense, credit to their special teams coach. Michael Clay's a guy that I actually coached way back when, so I'm getting old. I'm starting to coach against guys that I coached myself. But no, he's done a great job, and they've put a huge emphasis on it. Their personnel, I think the one thing I could say about the Eagles is you watch their progression over the last few years, and they've really improved that phase of their team.
With Marvin, he had the muff in week 1, and then the bobble there was a penalty in week 4. Is there any concern about that ball security?
Yeah, a little muff there last week. A lot of people were asking me about the rule, the fair catch interference. The returner actually has the right to the ball through the catch. Now, if you remember back to the game, they didn't give us the penalty yardage, because if the returner muffs the ball, it's still a penalty. You just get the ball where you caught it. Whereas if the coverage team gets there before he has a chance to field the ball, then it's a 15-yarder. But as far as Marvin goes, I'm pretty confident with Marvin. I know he's been working extra hard on it the last few weeks, getting some extra catches out here off the jugs machine, off the live foot. So I got a lot of confidence in Marvin still.